She is a force of nature, a singer, an actress, a fashion icon, a trailblazer, a legend. For 7 decades, she has been a constant, glittering, and utterly unmistakable fixture in our cultural landscape. She is a woman who has defied time, who has defied trends, and who has defied every single person who ever told her she couldn't. But behind the incredible costumes, the chart-topping hits, and the Academy Award, lies one of the most remarkable survival stories in modern history. Cher's memoir is more than just a dazzling look back at a legendary career. It is a powerful, funny, brutally honest, and deeply philosophical guide to resilience, to reinvention, and to the art of being unapologetically yourself in a world that is always, always trying to change you. This is not just the story of a pop star, it is a journey into the heart of a survivor, a lesson in how to turn your outsider status into your greatest strength, and a testament to the sheer, stubborn power of believing in yourself when no one else does. To understand the icon, you first have to understand the awkward, insecure, and determined young girl she once was. Sherilyn Sarkeesian was born in Southern California, and her childhood was anything but glamorous. Her family was often poor. Her beautiful mother, Georgia Holt, was an aspiring actress and singer who married and divorced many times. Cher's father was a truck driver who struggled with addiction and was in and out of her life. Her childhood was one of constant instability and financial struggle. From a very young age, she felt like a complete outsider. In the sun-bleached, blonde world of 1950s California, she was dark, she was exotic, and she was different. She was dyslexic, which made school a constant struggle. She was not a conventional beauty. She was tall, she was skinny, and she was convinced she was unattractive. She writes with unflinching honesty about her deep-seated insecurities, about her feeling of never quite fitting in. But this feeling of being an outsider also forged in her a fierce sense of independence and a powerful internal compass. She knew, from a very early age, that she was not going to live a normal life. She knew she was going to be famous. It wasn't a wish, it was a certainty. She dropped out of high school at 16 and moved to Los Angeles to chase this unshakable dream. It was there, in a coffee shop in 1962, that her life changed forever. She met a man who was 11 years older than her, a man who was working for the legendary record producer Phil Spector. He was charismatic, he was ambitious, and he saw something in this strange, beautiful, and determined young girl. His name was Sonny Bono, and together they would take on the world. The story of Sonny and Cher is one of the great love stories, and one of the great cautionary tales in the history of pop music. At first, Sonny was her protector, her mentor, and her best friend. He was the first person who truly believed in her talent. He wrote the songs, he produced the records, he created their iconic, bohemian his and hers look. In 1965, he wrote a song that would capture the very essence of the 1960s counterculture movement. That song was I Got You Babe. It was a global, generation-defining smash hit. And just like that, Sonny and Cher were two of the most famous people on the planet. Their success in the 1970s was even bigger. They launched the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour, a television variety show that became a massive hit. The show was a perfect showcase for their unique dynamic. Sonny was the short, funny, and slightly bumbling straight man. Cher was the tall, glamorous, and sharp-witted diva who would lovingly make fun of him in their opening monologues. The show was famous for her incredible, over-the-top Bob Mackie gowns, which established her as a major fashion icon. To the outside world, they were the perfect, funny, and deeply in-love couple. But behind the scenes, a different story was unfolding. As Cher grew from a shy teenager into a confident woman and a global superstar, she began to realize that the relationship that had made her a star was also a gilded cage. Sonny Bono was a complete and total control freak. He controlled every aspect of their career. He controlled every single penny they made. Cher was the star, but she was treated like a child. She writes that he was more like a father than a husband. He was deeply insecure about the fact that her talent and her star power were eclipsing his, and as she began to yearn for her own independence, for her own artistic voice, their relationship began to crumble. This fairy tale romance was, in reality, a story of profound emotional and financial control. The decision to leave Sonny was the first and perhaps the most difficult reinvention of Cher's life. It was a terrifying leap into the unknown. Sonny had been the architect of her entire career. He had told her that without him, she would be nothing. And a huge part of her and a huge part of the public believed it. Their public and very messy divorce was a huge scandal, but Cher was determined to prove him, and the world, wrong. She wanted to be her own woman, to be in control of her own destiny. This was her first great act of self-creation. And she did it in spectacular fashion. In the mid-1970s, she embraced the glamour and the hedonism of the disco era. She launched her own massively successful solo television show. She became a fixture at Studio 54. She dated younger rock and roll bad boys. And she released a string of hit records, including the disco anthem, Take Me Home. This was a new Cher. She was no longer the goofy bohemian folk singer. She was a glamorous, independent, and sexually liberated superstar. She had proven decisively that she did not need Sonny to be a star. In fact, she was an even bigger star without him. This first great reinvention was a powerful statement of female empowerment, a story of a woman taking back control of her own life, her own career, and her own image, in a world that was, and still is, dominated by men. The second act, Cher, the unlikely movie star. By the early 1980s, Cher's music career had cooled off. Disco was dead, and she was seen by many as a relic of the 70s. So what did she do? She decided to do something that everyone in Hollywood told her was impossible. She decided she wanted to be a serious actress. The film industry laughed at her. They saw her as a TV personality, a Vegas act, a flamboyant singer who was famous for her outrageous costumes. She was not a real actress. But Cher, as always, refused to accept the limitations that others tried to place on her. She knew she could do it. She fought for every single role. She took acting classes. She proved she was willing to shed her glamorous image. Her first major role was in the film Silkwood, alongside Meryl Streep. She played a working-class lesbian factory worker. She wore no makeup, she looked plain, and she was brilliant. She was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Suddenly Hollywood was forced to take her seriously. She followed this up with a series of critically acclaimed and commercially successful performances in films like Mask, where she played the tough but loving mother of a severely disfigured boy, and The Witches of Eastwick, alongside Jack Nicholson and Susan Sarandon. Her incredible second act culminated in 1988. For her role as the passionate and funny Italian-American bookkeeper in the romantic comedy Moonstruck, Cher won the Academy Award for Best Actress. Her acceptance speech that night is legendary. She walked on stage in a now iconic see-through Bob Mackie gown, a defiant statement to the Hollywood establishment that had once dismissed her. And in her speech, she thanked her directors for believing in her, and she had a special message for her own past self. She said she wanted to thank everybody who has said I was not good enough, and I was not smart enough, and I was not talented enough. It was a moment of absolute triumph. The girl from El Centro, the dyslexic high school dropout, the Vegas singer, was now holding the highest honor in the film world. This second great reinvention was a powerful testament to her grit, her talent, and her unwavering belief in herself in the face of universal doubt. Just as her acting career was reaching its peak, she reinvented herself yet again. In the late 1980s, she returned to music, but this time, not as a disco queen, but as a hard-rocking, leather-clad rock and roll star, with massive power ballad hits like If I Could Turn Back Time. And then, in the late 1990s, when she was in her 50s, an age when most female pop stars are considered to be long past their prime, she did the most impossible thing of all. She reinvented herself for a new generation. She released the song Believe, a dance pop track that featured the then revolutionary and now ubiquitous sound of the auto-tuned voice. The song was a global monster hit. It became the best-selling single of her entire career. She was, once again, on top of the world. So, what is the secret to her incredible 7-decade-long career? What is the philosophy of Cher? It is, in a word, resilience. It is the philosophy of a survivor. Her life is a masterclass in the art of reinvention. She has an almost preternatural ability to sense the shifting tides of the culture, and to adapt, to change, and to come back again and again, in a new and relevant form. But her reinventions are not just cynical marketing ploys. At every stage of her career she has remained authentically, unmistakably Cher. Her strength comes from her outsider status. Because she never truly fit in, she was never afraid to be different, to take risks, to look strange, to be herself. She is also a figure of incredible and often underrated courage. The courage to leave a controlling marriage, even when it meant risking her entire career. The courage to demand to be taken seriously as an actress when the entire industry was laughing at her, and the courage to be brutally honest about her life, her insecurities, her plastic surgery, and her mistakes. Her final and perhaps most enduring role is that of an icon, particularly a gay icon. For decades, she has been a fierce and outspoken advocate for the LGBTQ community. They, like her, knew what it was like to be outsiders, to be told that you were not normal. And in her, they saw a powerful and fabulously dressed warrior who was not afraid to be exactly who she was. The ultimate message of Cher's life is a profound and deeply philosophical one. It teaches us that the key to a long, successful, and meaningful life is not to resist change but to embrace it. It is about having the courage to reinvent yourself over and over again, without ever losing the essential core of who you are. It is about understanding that your flaws, your insecurities, and your outsider status are not weaknesses. They are the source of your unique and undeniable strength. It is a story about the relentless and beautiful act of becoming. If you are a person who believes in the power of turning back time, of starting over, and of believing in your life after love, then you are in the right place. Welcome to Geeky Philosopher. Subscribe, and let's continue to explore the philosophies of the icons who have shaped our world.